Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel where I pretty much do whatever I want. Today we're going to be doing a book review and we're going to be talking about Shawn Johnson's book, The Flip Side. This book was actually, I think, ghostwritten, and the blurb on it says that it's by Shawn Johnson and A.L. Sonachin. But I liked Shawn Johnson. I kind of followed her career when she was an elite gymnast, and I kind of watched her for a little bit a couple of years ago on her YouTube channel. I think she's still making videos with her husband, and now I think almost 3 kids are either expecting their third or they just had their third. But anyway, she's a very busy lady and pretty successful. So this, I think, was her first fiction attempt. And well, let's just dive right into it, shall we? The main character of the book is a 16-year-old girl. I think she's 16, 15 or 16, Charlie Ryland, and she is an elite gymnast who is a 2-time world champion on the balance beam and is going to hopefully go to the Olympics. The timeline of the book starts sort of towards the end of the school year, and at the end of the year, hopefully Charlie will be going to the Olympics. So it's very close, and she's very close to meeting her goal. Not really a spoiler to say that Charlie has a secret. She doesn't want anybody in her school to know that she's an elite gymnast because she just wants to keep her gym life separate from her personal life. She doesn't want everyone in school always calling her out and saying, oh, look, there's that gymnast who's always on TV. She doesn't even want everyone rooting for her. She just wants people to not know and just leave her alone. She wants to be your average teenage girl. And if someone likes her, she wants them to like her for her, not because she's some gymnast who happens to be successful at what she's doing. So she spends a lot of energy hiding the fact that she's an elite gymnast. The main plot of the book is that Charlie is having trouble in her American government class, and her teacher is forcing her to participate in student council and student government in order to bring up her grade. And while she is on the student government, she meets this guy. I forget what his name is. Honestly, I don't remember. But she meets this really hot guy, and she, yeah, it's been a while since I actually read this book. But she meets this hot guy in student government, and she wants to date him. But she's really torn because she's an elite gymnast, and she has this responsibility of gymnastics. She's not really supposed to be off dating and going to prom. She's supposed to be at the gym training. And so the main focus of the book becomes, will Charlie be able to maintain her focus as a gymnast and go to the Olympics while either having this boyfriend, or is she strong enough to just kick him to the road and go do her own thing? So let's go through some of the things that I thought the book did really well. It was published by Simon & Schuster, so you know it's got all the bells and whistles of being published by a big publisher. It's got the big budget behind it. It's got the advertising. It's got a big name author, and it's also been very polished and very well put together. There are no typos. There's no formatting errors, just like you would expect from, you know, big publisher. It's a very well produced book. The second thing that I thought was done pretty well was it was very well paced. Like, if, you know, sometimes books will just drag, this one didn't usually drag. I personally didn't like a lot of the book, but that's just me, and I'm going to get into that later. But I felt like, just for your general audience who's going to come into this book and read it, like, just go out and read it. It flowed very well. It was well paced, and it would hold the general reader's attention. And now we're going to get into some of the things that I didn't really like about this book that I thought could have been done a lot better. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that Charlie spends the majority of the book hiding the fact that she's a gymnast from pretty much everyone in her life except for her family. So she doesn't want anybody at school to know that she's a gymnast, and that includes her best friend. So she's basically lying to her best friend from day one and not telling her that she's a gymnast. And this actually snowballs into quite a big thing, because elite gymnasts in the books have to go to pretty much every 4 to 6 weeks monthly training camps, and these are like a week long. These are long, several day long extended training periods when they have to be away from home. So she has to explain this to her best friend, and she's basically lying to her. Not basically lying, she is lying to her and saying all these lies about where she is when she could just tell her the truth. I mean, this is supposed to be her best friend. She should be able to tell her the truth about what she does and where she goes. She shouldn't have to lie to her. Just me. Whatever. The other thing about this is that I think it's really implausible for Charlie to believe that nobody in her school knows that she's an elite gymnast, because she goes to a public high school where, just from the book, they have a prom, they have, you know, all kinds of, they have a student council, they have a prom. So it's obviously at least an average size high school. There's probably several hundred kids in her class, and there's probably 4 grades in that school. So there's probably about 1,000 kids that go to school there, give or take. Even if there's, let's say there's only 500 kids that go to school there. You're gonna tell me that not one of them is a gymnastics fan, that not one of them caught her on TV one day when she was winning one of those 2 gold medals on the balance beam at Worlds? You're gonna tell me that no one's seen her on the internet, no one's seen her on Facebook or TikTok or anything, no one's put up videos of her anywhere? Nothing? It's implausible. And towards the end of the book, her secret does come out, and she gets told by a couple of people at school, hey, yeah, I knew that you were an elite gymnast, but I never said anything because I just figured you didn't want anyone to know, or you weren't talking about it. And I was like, see, she should have just been honest with everyone, because most people just don't even really care. They just call you short or want you to do a trick for them. They're like, they don't really care. They've got their own stuff to worry about. And so, sorry, there's an eagle outside. And he's stalking something. Anyway, so it just seemed really implausible that she could expect nobody to know that she's an elite gymnast. And it just seemed stupid that she wouldn't even tell her best friend. I mean, it's obvious that, you know, somebody sometime is going to find out. It's way too difficult to keep that much of your life secret, especially when you're just 16 and you have all these responsibilities. It's really hard to keep secrets from people. I seriously doubt that she would have been able to keep that secret that as long as she did, and it was totally plausible when the secret came out. It was like, yeah, of course, everyone's gonna know. People are gonna know. It's not like you haven't had success in your sport. You're pretty successful. You're a world champion, for God's sakes. You've been on, if you're a world champion, you've been on national television. You've been interviewed on TV. You've been put out on social media by USA Gymnastics and other media outlets. It's really stupid to think that nobody would know, you know? So, okay, enough harping on that. The second and really the most glaring thing for me was that this book was marketed as a gymnastics book. It was marketed as Shawn Johnson writes a book right before the 2016 Summer Olympics, and it's about an elite gymnast. So you are led to believe by all the marketing of this book, pretty much, that Charlie is a gymnast, and you're going to see gymnastics in this book. Aside from the first chapter and the last little epilogue, there's almost no gymnastics in this book. The entire book is Charlie at school, going to student council meeting, arguing with this bitch girl that is just a total bitch to her for no reason, and chasing after this boy. That's the entire book. And she wants to go to prom with the boy. And it's just like, seriously? You market this as a gymnastics book. You put it out as a gymnastics book right before the Summer Olympics. The main character is an elite gymnast who is a world champion, obviously a kick-ass gymnast, and you never show her in the gym. Like, the first part of the book is Charlie daydreaming in class, and she's daydreaming about being on the beam at a meet. And that's about the most gymnastics you get in the entire book. Like, the rest of it is you might get a scene where she's leaving the gym, or you might get a scene where she's talking to one of her friends at camp. But you never see her in the gym. And then one time, about, I don't know, half, 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the book, her mom turns to her and says something about, hey, your coach says you've been having trouble in the gym. And it's like, we never saw that. We've just been seeing her as student council, you know? And it would have been really strong as a writer to show that in your book and to show that side of her life, because it's almost like she's freezing the reader out of that side of her life as well as her friend. She doesn't want anybody to know about that side of her life. So we almost never see her at the gym. We don't even know she's having problems at the gym until her mom comes back and is like, hey, your coach says you're having problems. And it's like, why didn't you show us that? A good scene of her having problems in the gym because she's too preoccupied with what's going on in school would have been really cool. Would have made the book a stronger thing, I think. But nope. We just hear it secondhand from her mom. And now for Pam's petty pet peeve. We've got the fact that they named this book The Flip Side. I mean, come on. It's like every gymnastic book out there has to be named either The Flip Side or some form of balancing act, or play on the word balancing. Like, seriously, can we please get some more creative titles up in here? The copy of this book that I have is a hardback, and I got it at Goodwill for like $2. But I was going to take it into Bookman's and try to sell it when I remembered that what they've generally said is if you bring in the hardback books and there's a paperback edition out of it, they're probably not going to buy it from you because nobody wants the hardbacks anymore. If they can get a paperback copy, they're going to buy that. So I was kind of stuck with this book that I didn't want anymore. I'm not going to read it again, and pretty much anyone that's going to go out and buy this book, especially used, is going to go for the paperback copy. So what I decided to do was turn it into some art. So I turned it into a cat. And the back is made, this part here is covered in fabric, and this is paper with some leather accents and a nice some nice stickers on the back there. So you don't like your books, turn them into something that you do like. Thank you so much for sticking around for my book review, and if you like the hodgepodge of stuff that's on my channel, go ahead and subscribe. We do things a little differently here than anywhere else on YouTube. I don't stick to any one thing. I've tried that. It just doesn't work. I don't upload on a regular schedule, and I might not see you for a while. So have a great day.